Hey there. So, I said before in a video that I wasn't going to be doing too much over the summer and I'd put a video out here or there. But I figured I'd just give you a little update. Yes, we're working on getting the house ready. We're just waiting on the concrete guy now. So, that's out of the way. The update with the game dev stuff is that I'm going to be focusing more or less in the foreseeable future not on exploring other game engines. However, there are a few that I've been checking out, but I'm going to try and focus on actually getting some work done. So what I'm focusing on, and I probably will be into the fall and into the winter. Sorry, I had to rub my eye there. I'm going to be working on Game Guru Max, but I'm also going to be working in a game engine I've owned it for a long time, but I haven't actually installed it or checked it out, and that's called RGPtools. So anyone who knows me knows that I grew up reading comic books, playing Dungeons and Dragons. Like that was always my thing when I was younger, and when I got older and played video games, it was always the Dungeons and Dragonsy type. Even young, like on the Atari and on the Sega and the Nintendo, it was the Final Fantasies and it was the Fantasy Star series, and then the old ColecoVision. It was like Venture, Temple of Apshai. That was a big one, big one on the Coleco 64. Temple of Apshai. They did port it over to the ColecoVision. My buddy Michael had it. But there were a lot of role playing games, and then when Baldur's Gate, Diablo, Baldur's Gate 2, Icewind Dale, Diablo 2, when those all came along with good quality isometric graphics, all of a sudden the RPG games went to the next level, and they were amazing. It was no longer really turn-based combat, although a few of the early ones were action combat, like especially on the console. But a lot of them were turn-based Japanese RPG games, and those were basically you'd have a party, four guys, a couple monsters. You'd have these battler screens. This guy would jump forward, do his sword attack. This guy jump forward, do his magic attack. This guy jump forward, maybe heal this guy. Then the monsters would take their turns, so on and so forth. So that's what Japanese RPGs were all about. That was like the Final Fantasy and the Fantasy Star series. They were all about that. But then when you got into the action RPG, that's what really got me, because you were able to actually do the adventuring and the combat. It wasn't just turn-based combat based only on stats and playing some static animations, more or less. So that was really good. So I've always wanted to make those type. That's what RGPtools lets me do. It's going to let me do that in the isometric methodology. I can make my RPG universes pop out and come to life. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to do some smaller games. So I'm going to do like Oli's Epic Adventure, Oli's Epic Odyssey, something like that. And that'll be a Viking guy going off and saving the world. And then I'll do another one after that. And maybe in that game, it's only going to be an hour or two gameplay. And then I'll have another one, which is a couple more hours gameplay. And I might try to figure out a way. I'm actually talking with the developer, Martin, of this software, and going to see if maybe there's a way that as in a future update he can add chapters, so that maybe you can push out a chapter, which is an update for the game, and then person could play chapter 1, Oli's Epic Odyssey, chapter 2, Oli and the Armageddon Dragon, chapter 3, Oli in the Temple of Tears, like whatever. You can do a whole bunch of different campaigns, and I'm hoping to do them in chapters so that you could take your original character and continue playing through. So we'll see how that goes. But that's what I want to do: short 1 to 2 hour campaigns, and then the next one. And I want to do that because if any of you remember classic Dungeons and Dragons, you'd play a campaign. So the Caves of Chaos, you'd go in and you'd play the Caves of Chaos. And of course, pen and paper Dungeons and Dragons, it would take you a long time, sometimes weeks, especially if you only played on the weekends, 1 day a week or 2 days a week. And you'd play for a few hours and you had to go home, whatever. But it would take you a long time to play that out. Whereas if you put that into a computer RPG where you could just sit in front of it, all the dice rolls and stuff happened in the background, and you did your adventure, you get through it a lot quicker, right? So that's what I'm saying, a few hours, because a few hours would be like typical Dungeons and Dragons module length, the Caves of Chaos or Temple of Elemental Evil or Pool of Radiance or what have you, right? Campaign based. And so I want to get back to the campaign based rather than the games nowadays are all like these giant ongoing epic sagas that never end, and by the time you complete the game you've had to have worked a full-time career for a year, right? Like, so I want the little enjoyable games that people can play again. And I think that'll sell, because I think a lot of people just don't have time for these giant campaigns, and they would love to sit down on a Saturday night or a Sunday afternoon, if they, whatever, to relax and maybe play a couple of hours and complete a game. There you go. I had fun. And maybe, on Steam or itch.io, it's only like $3.99. Who cares? You can't even get a decent coffee for $3.99 anymore. So something like that. That's what I'm looking to do. But that being said, I'm going to switch over here now to screen capture and just give you an idea of what I'm talking about here. So before I get into this, which is I want to actually pump some of the artists that I'm working with, I want to go over here and I just want to show you this video. This is what I've been up to in Game Guru Max, just doing some preliminary setup for getting ready for the fall. But this is a character, again, I'm going to pump this artist, Maverick 3, but there's Maverick is his name. He's from the UK, he's an exceptional artist, and he's been working on some lower poly anthropomorphic characters for my Doodleverse saga. And I'm just going to play this video so you could just see the prototype. I just put it in I made a super basic level, did a real simple voice actor to see how the jaw would line up with the voice in engine, and just testing it out. So that's what this is. So all I've done is I've dropped this doodle in there, jumped into the engine, and when you walk up to him, he talks to you.
Hello, my name is Ralph. This is my little fishing hut. This is where I work. If you want to get to the village, just go around the lake and you will see the village on the other side. Say hello from me. Bye now.
So there you go. So let's just show you what I've been up to in Game Guru Max. And he's doing a whole set of anthropomorphics for me. He's also doing some like fungus creatures. And so the inspiration behind the fungus, just real quick, because I'm doing a little ramble today. It was basically like Final Fantasy or Lineage and a bunch of those games. You used to have to fight like wild mushrooms that would hop around. Well, I thought, okay, well, if you take those wild mushrooms and you actually make them so they're infected, kind of like the Last of Us TV series where a fungus infected them, but make it a little more cartoony-ish, like to fit in the anthropomorphic world, and have them look a little more like an actual mushroom head with arms and legs. So he's working on a set of those for me. He's also working on some robots and stuff, and some more anthropomorphics. I have him making a Doberman character called Rico, and then also some female versions, and then also some groundhogs, because there's the dwarf-like creatures in my Doodleverse are like groundhogs that have evolved, or badgers, groundhogs, whatever. And then the elf-like are going to be anthropomorphic cat people. So anyway, that's just basically an update on that. That's what I'm working on. So I haven't been able to show you much because I'm just slowly getting everything together and making things work. And the game creators, Game Guru Max people have a big update, a big change to Game Guru Max coming. I don't know what it is. They're doing a big news drop on the 12th, and there's going to be a live coverage event of it, so I'm going to tune into that and watch it. But basically, I'm not really doing anything in Game Guru Max until I know what that future holds. But in the meantime, I'm just getting those assets together. So, my little puppy came to say hi. Hello, Lucy. So that being said, I'm going to go back over here to this screen, and I'm just going to plug these characters for you. So I purchase art from, and I also make similar style art, and I've shown videos on how I've done it before. I've done it using a Python script in Blender, and I've done it using a third-party tool. Basically, you render out animations in Mixamo from a model, then you take those animations and you export them as sprite sheets, directional sheets, and so on. And then you also take, or I do, take basically a cube or a plane, flatten it out, apply a texture to it, and then render that out as like a PNG image, and then I can use that as a tile set graphic. But this fella, Jesse, at PV Games, he makes a bunch of 2D isometric games. I'll just pull up this one here to show you. I don't want to download that. Where is it? I want to click on that. Maybe there's not a picture there. Maybe there's another one with a picture here. Let's try this one. Yeah, there's a picture. There we go. That's what I wanted to show you. Okay. Sorry about that. It took me a couple seconds to figure out how to navigate my own library. So what he does is he has a bunch of texture terrain files, and that's what this desert characters type thing is here. And these are objects. Sorry about my dog barking in the background. They came in and they're playing. But anyway, this one's a military base. There's like a listing tower stuff. These are all assets you can drop in. They're all two-dimensional. They're not 3D models. They're for use in a 2D game, and they're all rendered out as, I believe it's true isomorphic, or sorry, isometric. But it might be 33 degrees rather than 45. I'm not sure. But anyway, so he has his own that he renders out here, and he's got all this style of artwork. And he's got them ranging from Vikings to medieval to Gothic to Wild West to again desert type. So I just wanted to promote him because if you want to check out either Yami Action RPG Maker or Godot in 2D Engine or RGPtools, then I really recommend Jesse's assets over at PV Assets. And you can see here, they're not very much money. Now, I don't believe I paid this much for them. I think I got a bundle for them from him. He had a promotional deal on, and I think I bought all of his assets for like $25 or something. Like, it wasn't much. There's often humble bundles including his products, and he's also got itch.io bundles on sale often. So just keep your head out for these. It's an amazing artwork. He's an amazingly talented guy, and yeah, I'm giving him a plug here. So the other guy I'm going to give a plug to is this guy down here. His name is Martin, and where are we here? Right here. This is what I purchased off Martin. And I don't think he's got any real pictures of it, of the engine in use. But basically, this is a game engine specifically for making Baldur's Gate, Diablo 2 style games. This probably isn't the best picture, but there's a couple of goblins there and a person in this cave fighting. You can see their health bars. There's a person in the middle of a town. And these are all bundled with his project here are some PV game assets. He also has some other assets I think he's recently added. But this is 30 euros. I don't believe I got it on sale. I bought this a few years ago, so I think I probably paid somewhere around that for it. But I've never really used it. I used it differently because you can actually export sprite sheets and things from it. You can use it to export your own character sheets and your own images and build your own 2D characters up, which I then used in the Intersect engine and in Godot for my character sheet. So I've used it as basically a character sheet maker. I've never used it as a game engine. So I just recently have been checking it out, and I really like it. and I'm going to use it as one of my game engines over the summer. So I just wanted to show you that before I opened it up and gave you a demo of it. The guy's name is Martin. He does have a Discord. Jesse's got a PV Games Discord as well. If you purchase these, I recommend joining them. They're very helpful guys. I'm actually going back and forth with Martin on a couple of things right now. He's actually going to implement something that I suggested, and I also submitted the bug fix to him today. So, guys, awesome. PV assets are awesome. Maverick over on the Game Guru channels are awesome. There's just a bunch of good people out there. So I recommend following them all. On that note, I'm going to close this down, and I'm going to open the example project in RGPtools just to show you what some of this stuff looks like natively. So if I come in here, let's just go, what do we want? We'll go flora and fauna. So you see a bunch of bushes, trees. These are all just PNGs. I'll just open this one up. They're just PNG files, right? So you can just zoom in and look. And then they're not 3D models. They were made from 3D models, but they're all just kind of PNGs. So there's all sorts of stuff available. And if any of you watched my Intersect, you could see that I used these cave entrances. Although I did change the color out and made them a brown rock, and instead of gray for what I was using. And in the user agreement for Jesse, for his PV game stuff, he does say that you can modify his stuff and use it as you want, and use it in any project you want. So just so you're aware of that. Outdoor tiles, again, just more rocks and things. I want to show you the ground here. Ground tiles and decals. So basically you're just working with, I'll just open up this one. So that would be like a tile sandstone floor or something. And then you would also have, which one was it? It was angled. This one here. Then you've also got this for a blend decal brush. So that's what those are about. And then I'll just also show you items and stuff that you can equip on the ground. So there's these layer over your character. And they have the different angles, 8 different angles for everything. And these are all pre-rendered out as well. Shirts, clothes, what have you. And they all stack in layers in the engine, which I'm just going to open now and show you what that's all about. Close that. So that's the example project. I'm going to open RGPtools up. And so it opens up, and here's the character editor. And this was what I used for other engines. So you could choose whoever you want. Let's choose that one. All right, and then we want to come over here. I'm just going to give you a quick demo, add a layer. And in that layer, widen this out a bit. You can make it a slotted gear or not. I'm going to make it slotted. And I'm just going to call it legs. And then here I am going to add equipment to it. Oh, we need to change that from male to female. Body type female. All right. And then we want to come down here to layers. And open models. And then there's a whole bunch of things here on the red. And I think what I'm going to do is just go add address. There we go. Now you can also adjust the color and stuff on these things. So if I come down to here, I can come into color. And I can go to here. And maybe I want to make it a little more yellowy. Now we've added that yellow gold. Well, if I want to make it more blue, now it's a blue, light blue, red, green. You get the idea. I'm going to leave it as a gold. Kind of like that. Perfect. So you can adjust and make everything whatever you want. So I'm also going to go here. I'm going to add another. And then what I'm going to do is in this slot, I am going to make this the body, And then what I want to do, find something here. I would use that one. That one's good. Perfect. There we go. Female top. And then that color is kind of like a skin colory thing. I think what I'm going to do is come down here. I'm going to go into the color for that one. And I want to make it more of a gold as well. Something like that. And then saturation. Just turn the saturation up on that a little bit. There we go. Okay, perfect. Don't need to get too complicated. Now I want to add hair. So we're going to go add, take this slot, and then we're going to go add that hair. No, I don't like that hair. Wait. Yeah, I like that hair. That'll work. Okay, but I'm going to change color on that hair, obviously. And I'm just going to, sorry, this down. Color. Sure, that'll work. There we go. So now I have a character. And then I can save that character. Save. And we're going to call this merchant. Merch. I think there's an A in there. Merchant 1. Save. So now I've saved that character, and I can use her in the other parts of the engine. Now all these are available, so you can actually and then I'm going to zoom in here because you can't see what's going on. I'll zoom up to 100. I'll zoom up to 200% if I can here. 200%. There you go, and you can see idle. There, she's just hanging out, right? Idle 1, idle 2, idle 3, idle 4. I kind of like idle 4. Okay, file, save. I didn't change anything, but we're saving it anyway. Okay, cool. So that's the character editor. So that's what we've got. That's what we've got set up for her. So, and you can add sounds, animation states, whatever. Create default states. There we go. Perfect. All done. File. Save. All right. So now we're going to go here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into level editor. And I'm going to show you the basics of the level editor. So in here, you can resize these. You can change it. You can create a new one. If I go edit, I can go to resize. And then in resize, I can tell how many pixels I want to do, whatever I want to do, right? So I'm just going to leave it at 64 by 64. That's fine. And then over here, you've got these different areas that you can work from. Tiles, background, objects, effects, path, and areas. So areas are like trigger zones. That's what he's called them, areas here. Path is like block out areas or non-navigatable zones. Because you're dealing with a 2D engine with a touch of 3D in it, and I'll show you what I mean by that in a minute, you actually get, you're going to need to take some areas and make it so the player character can't walk there. Now, generally, the object area is pretty good. If you're behind the object, you're blocked by it. If you're in front of the object, you're visible by it. At a certain point, it cuts between the two. But even in that, sometimes when you walk in front of and behind things, it'll block you out. So I'll show you what I mean by that in a minute here. So what I want to do is I want to basically just take tiles. You've got different ways to place tiles. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to go fill with tile, and I'm going to choose this tile here, and I'm just going to click. So now I got this grass area. I'm going to zoom out a little bit here so I can get the whole thing in. And you can see it is just a terrain that is scaling itself. So what I want to do though is I'm going to change this now over to place tiles because I want to paint. And what I want to do is I want to find, and I want to go my preview mode here a little bigger. Let's just choose, I want some dirt or some ground. Sure, we'll choose that one, sure. Okay, so I've chosen this to paint with for my ground, and what I want to do is change my shape now from a rectangle to a circle. Okay, and then I can actually change my size. It's set to 3 right now, but this is what I want, because what I want to do is I basically want to come in here and I want to go, I want to just paint this along here. Perfect. All right, and now if I zoom in on that, you can see it's just kind of a flat groundy path, right? So now what I want to do though is I want to find a bit of a dirt or a gravel. How about this one? And then I'm going to go right beside this. And I'm just going to paint this like that. Then I want to find a cliff. Which cliff do I want? Yeah, you know what? That one works. Use that one. And I'm going to come over here. And I'm going to come over here. Just want that up like that. And then taper it off to there. Okay. So now what I've done is I've basically just painted in cliff, gravel, walking path, and some dry grass. So now what I want to do is I want to put some water in there, but first I'm going to change the shape of the land. So that's where this 3D comes in that I was talking about. And I'm going to come down here and I'm going to go change terrain height. So right click lowers, left click raises. So I'm going to just come along here and I'm just going to raise this whole thing up all the way over to there. Oh, went too high. And then we're going to raise all this. And all this. Okay, so we've raised all that up. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to shrink my brush down a little bit here. There we go. And I'm going to go and I'm going to lower this down. Okay. So I've lowered that down now. Now I'm going to come back in here, go back to place tiles, come all the way down to the bottom here, and I'm going to find this guy. We'll go that one. And I want a little bit bigger. How about there? Oh, no. So Control Z's undo. You can also just undo. Okay. So I made that too big. There. What I want to do is just kind of hug the bottom edge of the cliff and part of the riverbank here. There we go. That'll work. Then I want to go back to dirt again here. Hey, how you doing, little dog? There we go. We'll do that. Perfect. All right, that works good. File. Just going to save that, and we're going to call this river bank. Save. So now we've saved the riverbank area. So now what we can do is we can actually start to place objects along here now. Except that there's one more thing I want to do. I want to open that up. And I just want to go into my animation speed here. You can see this. I'll just open it a bit more. So you got this animation speed. So I've got this tile selected. And what I want to do is I'm just going to set this to 10. Click over here. Set this to 10. All right. Now I just want to zoom in a little bit here. And let's hit play. It's not actually animating on me. All right, let's get out of that. So why is it animating on me? Because I didn't set the animation before I painted. Now you don't have to. And I'm going to come here and not animate on the edges. You can set different animation rates. Because it's just adjusting the shader flow. So it's flowing up. Oh, I painted here by accident. All right, that's fine. We can fix that because I'm pretty sure that that's right near the top here. And I'll just go here. And which one was that? That one? That one. There we go. Perfect. All right. File. Save. Sure. Throw a little bit of that at the top. So one thing I found is a pain is you've really got to be on that line, or else you're going to accidentally draw. There we go. That'll do. Yeah, perfect. All right. File, save. So now we want to move away from the tile sets. I'm going to shrink this down. And what I want to do is I want to add some objects and stuff. So we were on tiles. So now I'm just going to go to background. I'm going to quickly go to here. You can actually filter here. This is filtering through the objects you've placed. This is over here. You can filter whatever you want. Obviously, I don't want to scroll through 9,000 different items. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to look for flowers. All right, and then so what you can do with flowers or with anything is you can go add object, but you could change this mode to add multiple objects, right? And then what I can do is I can go here, 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 and here. And then it should just put a whole bunch of multiple objects in. So now I'm going to uncheck those. And then I'm going to search for rock. And then I'm going to find some rocks that I want to lay down here. And where do we go? There we go. So we just lay down a bunch of rocks. Now that's on the background layer. So now we want to go to the object layer. And this is where you'll lay down things that you can interface with. So trees. What type of trees do I want to lay down? I'm on multiple objects here. Let's just look. You know what? I like, sure, let's do that one, that one, that one, that one, that one, that one. That one. That one. That one. That one. All right. Good enough. All right, now we're going to unselect all those. Perfect. And find something here. think that's the end of that list. But what I'm looking for is, I believe, this log here. No. Huh. No. Okay, well, I'm just going to leave it at that. Good enough. And I'm going to show you what that map looks like now. So what happens is you can move with your WSAD keys. You can also click and move. And you can see there's a flower on the ground, there's some rocks on the ground, there's a tree, and if I go here, I'm underneath the tree. If I come here, I come in front of the tree. Try another one down here, a little lower. So it does a pretty good job of determining where you're at, and there's some more rocks on the ground there. More flowers, some more rocks. Another rock. There's some blossoming cherry trees. And then what you can do is you can block an area like this. So what I'm going to do is that's the path layer. So on the path layer, what I'm going to do, I'm going to zoom in here. And I'm going to say, right there you can't go. Right there you can't go. And I'm also going to go, and you could change the size of this brush too. And I'm just going to block that off there. And then we're going to jump back in and I'll show you what that does. Okay. If I come down here, try to walk through that same tree, see I'm blocked, I have to go around it. If I try to go up, I'm blocked at it right there. I can't go through it. So it does a good job of making for impassable objects. Same thing if I want to come up here to the river. There's my walk road. There's my river gravel. But I'm blocked right there. So I could have put that a little bit back this way. I could have blocked that in a little bit back this way. And then there's my cliff. If I come way up here, I should be able to, see that one was a good spot to block because I'm just stepping in the shallow water. Can't go any further on, so I got that blocked off right. And then, no, not quite. There you go. So you could see, here's where I didn't animate the water, and I did animate it this way. Now, I actually want it to run the other direction, so I'll probably change that. And there's some cliff there. And you can see where I changed the height, but I didn't block it off, so I'm just walking up the cliff. But I would be blocking that off so you couldn't get up there. But what I wanted to do was, I'll just block that off here now. Let's just go like that. And like that. And all the way over here. Not that it really matters, but just for a demo area. And there's where I was in the water. I shouldn't have been able to be in the water there. Okay. Good enough. So the other thing I wanted to show you quickly here was just how easy it is to place mobs, monsters and things in once you've got them. So I haven't built any. There's a few that came in the template package. I have built some. I made some giant rats. However, what we do is we'll go File, Save, and we're gonna go, and we can just go to where is it? Sounds, lights, areas, path, objects. But what I would just want is I want units. I'm going to uncheck objects. That's a preview of the last object I was on. All. I can choose this to Pack creatures. Okay, here, let me just search for... Here, goblin. No. Where are my... It's all... So you could also filter down as you're placing things into which directories you want. But I want unit. Oh, I don't want it multiple. That's why I want to go add unit. That's why. Okay. Now I want to go down here. So I'm going to go, I'm going to add a cat. I'm going to add a dog. Sure. Let's add a puppy dog. And then you come over here, you could change his stats, etc., etc., etc. But what I want to do is game logic. I want to open up game logic. Faction. I just want to make him, he's not a player or an enemy, so he's neither. Behavior. I just want him to wander. You can have a script. You can have an enemy. You can have him wander. Animation. And I'm just going to have walking. Alright. That's fine. And I only have 2 factions, so I don't have a neutral, so we'll just leave them alone as none. Now what I want to do is I want to place... Oh. I'm going to place him down there. Okay. Because this one's not moving. So now if you hit escape, you're unselected. I can select that guy, hit delete. Because I didn't assign the behaviors to him before I placed him on the map. And that's important to do. So now what I want to do is I want to go down here and I want to add a bad guy. Just so you can see, let's go, why don't we add... let's just add a goblin. Makes it easy. We're going to come over here. So he's a goblin. Animation's walking. That's fine. Faction. We're going to make him an enemy. And then I'm going to make him wander. And I can go in here and change his stats out. Items. I don't need to give him anything right now. Abilities, don't need to give him anything. Abilities are like buffs and power-ups and special attacks. Stats right there. So what I want to do, hit points at 100 is fine. I'm going to change that down to 75. Perfect. All right. And then I'm going to place him down here below that tree. I'm going to come up here, file, save, play. So now, this is just quick test mode. You can actually change your play settings and have actually your whole GUI and stuff, but we haven't built one yet, so we don't really have anything to show you there. But there is game GUIs and equipment bags, stores, all that stuff you can set up. So I'm just trying to come down and find the wandering dog. So there's a puppy dog wandering. So there we go. So there's Ollie's puppy dog right there. 130-pound Mastiff cross. Hello, puppy dog. And I can't attack him or do anything with him because he doesn't have a faction. But you can see he's a pretty good little puppy. Alright, so now we're going to come down here. And the goblin should come and attack us when we get in range. See there, he's attacking us. Let's fight him. There, killed the goblin. And there you have it. That is RGP tools in a nutshell. So I know this went on for a little bit, but it was a new game engine. So it was an update and a game engine demo. So I wanted to show you that. There is a lot more in RGP tools. It's a great piece of software. I do recommend you can check out, there is I think a free demo of it. You can check that out. But I would highly recommend spending the money, giving Martin some money and buying the tool set, because it's a great tool set if you're into making those specific style of video games, action RPG, Dungeons and Dragons style. So you can also have parties. There's all sorts of things you can do. There's a lot more to it, and I'll probably get into more of it over the summer as I start working away on Oli's Epic Odyssey. So you have a great day, and we will see you the next time we see you, and I don't know when that is. Cheers.